Welcome to the IDP Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter. You guys know me as the IDP Hunter. I'm a writer and an analyst over at Fantasy Pros, Fantasy Six Pack, RPO Network. I also do these podcasts. My co-host tonight needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Aiden is a two-time trademark patented inventor. He's also the founder of the IDP Center. What's going on, Aiden? How are you doing today?
Hey man, I'm doing great. Super thrilled to be here, especially after an awesome week one of fantasy football. Unless you have like Chris Olave on your roster, then you might not be feeling so good. But otherwise, it was a very fun time to finally watch some football again.
I'm always excited to talk to you because, I don't meet too many inventors, much less a two-time patented inventor. Humble brag there. But also, I love what you did this offseason with the IDP Center. For those folks that don't know about the IDP Center, Aiden, can you give us some kind words there? Can you explain what the IDP Center is?
Of course. So yeah, I'm the president of the IDP Center, and our goal is to really lower the barriers of entry into IDP, and for those in IDP to help them continue to learn, grow, and to enjoy it further. Because the IDP Center really got started because of the lack of standardized resources for IDP. In offense, it's relatively easy. Redraft, Breece Hall is roughly the same tier as CeeDee Lamb. This past season, most would agree with that, right? But for IDP, it's way more difficult because almost every league uses different scoring systems. Some use Fantasy Pro scoring, others use Sleeper 1, 2, 3, others use Big 3, and others use whatever the commissioner woke up and was in the mood for. So these different scoring systems makes the value of each player change dramatically. And on top of that, you have some leagues that start 1 IDP flex, others that start 14. So what does this do is that, like in some leagues, you have TJ Watt is worth the same as like Tyreek Hill. And in others, he's no more than like Devin Singletary. So what we do here at the IDP Center is we try to create content and tools that can be used in any IDP league, no matter your score, no matter your format. And we do some offense content as well. So our Dynasty trade charts break things down into 9 categories to be able to help give you Dynasty values that are useful for every single team. And our newest feature is the custom league analysis. So basically what we do is run a bevy of algorithms on your league and generate a personalized report on average about 10 pages long. For our base package is just $199 per team in the league. And you get overall league power rankings, power score charts, a competitor view at your league, dynasty view charts, future prospects table, a redraft power score, dynasty power score, youth grade, draft capital grade, composite future score, whole bevy of tools, like 10 pages long. Giving you information on your league. This is entirely customized based on your league's individual scoring and how many starters you have in that league. So it's useful for every single IDP league again. And our full league analysis includes all of that, as well as personalized advice for each team, like what trades we think you should do, and a detailed like state of the team analysis where we think your team's at, where we think you can make moves to improve on in the future. And finally, we have our dynamic league analysis, which like every 2 months you can request a report from us. We'll give you the full 20-page long report, plus like different what's changed in your league based on injuries, value changes, and the such. So we got a lot going on there. That's our front runner package that we're really, really proud of that we just launched actually this past week. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing there. We got articles, trade value charts. We got our Discord. We got over 450 managers on there. Happy to give you advice, thoughts. Even if you're like a newbie to IDP, we'll help you learn. If you're a veteran, we could give you second opinions on those tricky trades that you got.
Aiden, I didn't tell you this. Kind of put you on the spot, but like I used your trade analysis over at the Kings Classic when I was down at the Fantasy Expo. $199, guys, you can't beat that. But I used it to do my master draft. I was around all these great men at the Kings Classic, and I actually met one of our mutual friends. I don't know if you know this either. I got these cards from Smash Up Sports. And I was like, what is this? What is this? And, I was reading them. They're just these little cards here, little kid stuff. But I'm like, if your defensive team wins the game, this card is worth 75 points. And then the other smash-up card I had, if you're selecting a player, the points from rushing and receiving are twice the value. I was like, what is this? But I didn't realize you knew those guys. You have a partnership with Smash Up Sports.
Yeah, we're affiliated with Smash Up Fantasy Sports. We love them, right? They're an innovative new fantasy platform. If you're looking for the next level of fantasy football or just a new twist, Smash Up has like DFS style elements, but no buy-in, no pay-to-win mechanics. Is completely free to join, but they do have cash prizes, right? This past week, they had over $1,400 in cash prizes. for week one, for the week one tournament. One of our guys actually won $250 by coming in second place in the tournament. Free again, wow. No buy-in whatsoever. So Smash Up has DFS style elements, and you get to add Smash cards, which are sort of like player props you can use to boost your fantasy score. This summer, they just launched season-long leagues and even unveiling a single-player mode later this season. And again, all of these tournaments are 100% free. You don't need to put a credit card in. Nothing like that, right? We even got a league over on Smash Up as well. It's free to join, and depending on how many managers we get to join it over the course of the season, the league winner will win up to $200 in cash. So we love Smash Up. It's super fun to play. We got even talking about it in the Discord, you know, oh man, my lineup's at first and like someone scored a touchdown. Now we dropped down to 10th, you know, and it's just a great time, a great new twist on fantasy football, and it's really a fun time.
Man, I love it too. And I love what you're doing over there. You're bringing a community. There's people, especially on Reddit. That's where we met, right? This is an underground Discord off of Reddit. That's where it all started. There's people out there that want to learn, especially these combo leagues, these best ball leagues, all these leagues you dragged me into, Aiden. I'm hooked, you know? And I love their article writing, and I love what you've done for week one. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on the show, not just to talk to center, but just to pick your brain a little bit. Did you have a fun week one? Did you win your leagues?
Yeah, it was a great week one, actually. Across all my leagues, excluding my rebuilding leagues, you know, I have some teams that are just in the dumpster fire. I'm loading up on picks. I got like 15 first-round picks in the next couple of years, you know. Excluding those teams, I'm in probably about 10 competitive leagues that I'm competing in, and won 9 of them, which was really nice. One of them on the heels of Brock Purdy and Jordan Mason putting up the 32 points I needed Monday night to take the victory in that league. So it was a pretty good week one for me overall.
So you're involved with the week one magic that is known as winning's contagious, my friend. So let me just pick your brain a little bit. We're going to talk about studs week one. What were some of your favorite guys that you've seen this week? What are name me some of the guys that you were interested in. It could be waiver wire guys. It could be studs week one. Who are some of your favorite guys week one?
Yeah, so there's a whole bevy of them, honestly. Like, we had some great busts, but also some booms as well. First and foremost, on the IDP side, we'll start off with like Eric Kendricks. You know, there was some concern as to, you know, he's in Dallas. What would that scheme do? No more Dan Quinn. What are we looking at there? But he hit almost like every category. He had interception, a pass defense, 2 sacks, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, 6 solo tackles, and 3 assisted. And yes, it's against the Browns, but he really came out and had a great dominant week one. And he really did great, especially in the Dallas new scheme. So a lot of faith in him going forward. And that's on the IDP side. Do you have another one on the IDP you like to talk about?
Oh yeah, I got a ton for the IDP side of the house. I'm just gonna run down them with you to save the audience a little bit of time here. Defensive line, I have 3 or 4 guys. I don't know what you've seen week one, but week one was plenty. We had Greg Rousseau breakout. He may or may not be on people's waiver wires, but I've been waiting for Rousseau to break out for years. He just wasn't getting a snap count. But week one, Greg Rousseau got 6 combined tackles, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He's a guy I'm looking at. Another guy I'm looking at, the Patriots got this second-year player. And you know, Aiden, those are always great to find in drafts because the ADP's buried. But Keon White of the New England Patriots, he's only owned in 2% of leagues. I know this, Aiden, because I just did the waiver wire write-up for the Fantasy Six-Pack. If anybody wants to check that out. Keon White, week one, 2.5 sacks, and he had a healthy 80% snap count. He's just 25 years old, so he's a dynasty stash for me everywhere. And I'll give you guys one more for DLs. I got Darrell Taylor. He's a DL LB hybrid. He did Bears just traded for them, kind of like what they did for Sweat last year. They traded for this guy, and he went off with 8 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. So those are my guys. As you know, DB, I can really care less. I don't know if you have DBs, but linebacker, I'm looking at a couple guys too. I'm looking at Zack Baun, who had a great Thursday night game with 15 tackles, 2 sacks. And again, it's all about the snap count for him. JOK, remember him? We liked him, right? Hicks was supposed to be the green dot. JOK, all of a sudden, he's the guy with the 100% snaps. Hicks is still playable. he's still playable, but he's getting 71% of snap count. So again, if that holds true, sign me up for some JOK. And then my last stud in this category, old man named Shaq Thompson. A lot of people forget about him. Only owned in 4% of leagues. Turns out he was the 100% snap guy, and Josie Jewell came in and out. I believe both of those guys are going to be relevant, but Shaq Thompson is the guy to own there. But yeah, for week one, I would say those were my standout performers. Did you have any other guys?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off your Keon White mention there. One of our IDP advisors actually on our Discord was talking about this earlier today, is if you're in a league that you must start defensive tackles, it's not like defensive line as a whole, you got defensive tackles, defensive ends and such. Apparently Keon White on some platforms is designated as a defensive tackle, but most of his snaps this season so far has been coming on the edge. So you can get that defensive end production out of Keon White while he's still designated as defensive tackle. So that could be really almost like a cheat code in your defensive tackle mandatory leagues. Also mentioned, like to your point, DB's super volatile, kind of all over the place. It's very hard to rank them, very hard to really draw any meaning from them almost in a way. They're almost streamable. But like Julian Love, man, like safety for the Seahawks, he's back. He had 10 total tackles, 2 assisted, interception, tackle for loss, pass defense, forced fumble. He was all over the place. Super great production this year. And now he gets the Patriots next week. And the Patriots, they did pretty well against the Bengals. But I'm not so sure I believe in Jacoby Brissett being perfect next week.
Right. And again, check out the waivers article I wrote. Check out Aiden's articles if you want to look more in depth with studs. We just wanted to give you guys a taste of what we were thinking. Aiden, I only got two guys for this category, duds. I'll let you go first again. Who were your duds?
Yeah, duds, they're... I'm going to touch on the offensive side this time.
Okay.
Chris Olave, he did not really have much production at all. Rashid Shaheed outdid him in almost every receiving metric for week one. And like there were lots of duds across the board, but what I like to look at, especially for wide receivers on the wide receiver end, is how many targets did they get? Amari Cooper, he got like 9 targets, only hauled in 2 of them. He was a dud, but I still have some hope for that. Cortland Sutton, also 2 receptions, I believe, off the top of my head, but 13 targets. Chris Olave did not have that. He really barely produced much, and that was against the Carolina Panthers defense, which was abysmal by all accounts for week 1, right? And now for week 2, where is he going? He's playing against the Cowboys. The Cowboy defense that just ran straight through the Browns offensive line and was chasing Deshaun Watson all over the backfield, It's hard because you invest a lot of draft capital in him, but if I could sit him, I would love to. But yeah, for week 1, going to Olave is my dud.
You can go on a tangent about Watson as well if you wanted to put him as a dud.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they'll ever fix that.
Yep. Like week 1 really shows that there's some offenses that are just not it. Mm-hmm. You got the Giants, you got the Panthers. To a degree, Browns, I almost want to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt because, Micah Parsons was in that backfield all day long, but, we'll kind of see how it goes from there.
Generally, this time of year, the defense is usually caught up. They're ahead of the offense, and then we don't wait till week 4, week 5. You usually see the offense catch up. I like the way you analyzed that first one because that's kind of the way I analyzed my first dud. And we look to the Minnesota linebacker core. It's actually Ivan Pace here, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but we've been talking it all off season in articles and especially on my podcast. Both Cashman and Ivan Pace are going to cannibalize each other. They're going to split that. They're going to split that snap count. And yeah, Blake Cashman got 89%, 8 tackles. Good for him. But that left Ivan Pace with just 5 tackles on 55 snaps. And he's a sell candidate for me right now. Simply put, he comes out there in passing downs. That's going to cut out all them impact plays that he had last year.
Yep, definitely. And kind of in a similar vein, there are some people out there that thought like Jack Campbell was going to come in and be the green dot, the main guy for the Lions. Yep. And what Alex Anzalone is out there, the first 2 defensive plays of the game for the Lions, huge tackles for loss, really setting the tone for that game. So yeah, Jack Campbell's another little bit of a loser, a little bit. He still got some production last week, but his stock still takes a hit. It's not his time yet. Anzalone is still running that linebacker core.
Yeah, that Jack Campbell hype didn't happen, and then you want to throw in Derek Barnes got a little bit of play too. So it's the Alex Anzalone show right now. That's it. That's a good one actually. This isn't necessarily a dud per se to the untrained eye, but if you look at what's going on in Tampa Bay, you look at the linebacker core in Tampa Bay. Historically, they've always had two linebackers stand up and get all the snaps, and that's still going on with David. But if you look at the LB2, KJ Wright came out during third downs. He only got 65% of snaps, and Dennis is maybe a waiver pickup in those deeper leagues. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Dennis ended up getting 35% of snaps, and the thing about Dennis is, I don't think it's sustainable. So I'm kind of staying away at the moment. Reason being is it's not really. When guys are making big plays and stuff like that, it's not something that I could maintain. But yeah, I just pulled it up. KJ Britt, 68% snaps. I'm staying away until that fixes itself.
Yep. And kind of to that point, right, in that Tampa Bay linebackers core, you got KJ Britt. I have it down as like about 66% of the snaps. In the offseason, he was a favorite sleeper for some analysts because the buzz was like he's going to be an every down linebacker. That did not quite come through to fruition. So definitely a hold and wait and see on that aspect.
That's interesting you said that, because with Britt, I watched it during the offseason. People just kept moving him up in all my drafts. And I'm like, when is it going to stop? Similar vein, I'll throw two more duds at you because you got me thinking about this now. Bryce Huff of the Eagles, he's not getting any play right now. He got a miserable 45% snap share. What do you get, like one tackle? He profiles as a great pass rusher, but on a defensive line, he's not that great of a tackler. So that's why he's not getting any snaps. And then, of course, old man Cameron Jordan, try to get rid of him now while you can. 46% snap count. There's a rotation going on there right now, Aiden, with the Saints. With Chase Young and Granderson and Jordan, there's a rotation going on, and it looks like Jordan's going to be on the losing end. So those are two guys I want to get off quickly. Do you have anybody else for duds? I think we bashed these guys enough. What do you think?
Fair. I just have one more. Tuli Tuipulotu. I always butchered that name. On the Chargers defensive end, he was a popular breakout this year with Khalil Mack, Bosa again older. As that third guy, perhaps even taking a step forward there. But he recorded 45% of the snaps. He was out-snapped by Bud Dupree. And he didn't even record a single IDP stat really out there that was quite useful for leagues. So unfortunately, he's taken a dip, fallen down the rankings, and not quite the year two breakout that we were hoping for. Right.
Agreed. So many good observations here. And that's kind of our next category. Any thoughts, anything you noticed watching? There's so much you can say with box snaps, but when you actually watch games, there's things that just pop out, come out instantly. I'll give you an example. And you mentioned the Cowboys, right? To the untrained eye, Kendricks only got 67% of snap. He didn't get very much run, but when you look at it, he played every meaningful snap. He just came out at the end of the game for cramps. You're not going to know that unless you watch games. But did you see anything like that? Did you see any helpful observations or anything that you're paying attention to week one?
Yep, definitely. This is actually one that I started to think and notice since their postseason run last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. Nick Bolton, very highly drafted linebacker, very highly ranked. And, he has produced in the past, but he just does not look good to my eye. Ever since last offseason run coming into now, especially week one, several very bad critical missed tackles, both in coverage and run stopping, leading to third down, fourth down conversions for the Ravens. And this is the same thing that happened during the Chiefs playoff run last year. He also had several of these key missed tackles and such, but we attributed it to his wrist injury and his injury last season. But it just did not, even this year so far, he's been missing some of those really clutch tackles, even though his snap percentage is still super high and still producing. Most leagues I'm starting to move off of him at sort of peak value right now. And it was potentially even highlighted by his fellow linebacker play, Leo Chenal, like might have highlighted because he was super strong in his tackles and had 2 coverage past his defenses and the such. So I don't know. Nick Bolin's getting a snap still, but he just did not look good.
Agreed. As far as observations, I haven't really done anything offense on this episode. So let me throw some offense at you. What the Raiders are doing right now. I mean, the talk is Gardner Minshew. He had that passing record he broke in a loss, whatever. But let's look at the running backs. If you look at the running back game right now, I think it's going to be a split backfield all year. I think Mattison and White are going to split, which that helps all the Mattison owners out there that got him in like the millionth round, but that's killing them Zamir Wright. Just like Britt, I think White is the offensive version of Britt. People kept elevating him, look at the potential. But yeah, what we've seen week 1 with both of those guys, I think they're both in play. And I think they're both going to be in line, especially with Mattison scoring the one lone touchdown.
Yes, that plus Alexander Mattison actually outsnapped Zamir White by 14 snaps in week 1. So I was looking at that, I was like, wow, this is quite surprising, you know? Like I still expect Zamir White to get work, but it's very much not even 1A, 1B. They're both kind of right there in terms of touches and such. And it's just kind of going to be a matter of who gets the touchdown that week. They're almost like boom bust flexes at this point, unfortunately.
And this one here is more of just a little thought. Joey Bosa took a pay cut in the offseason. He took a pay cut to stay with the Chargers. He believes in Jim Harbaugh. He wants to win badly. He's getting longer in the tooth. He's a little bit older, right? He had a blow-up game, didn't he? We didn't mention him as the studs, but he had a blow-up game. I guess my observation is it's Joey Bosa win or bust this season. He wants to win badly. You can see it on his face. When these guys are on the field and they're going after court, you can see it. He wants to win. In that, I guess that reminds me of J.J. Watt a little bit when he got older.
Yep, definitely, 100%. And we could sit here all day. There are so many busts and booms that we could sit here and talk about. Just trying to give you some of the highlights. But here's one that got a lot of attention: was Mark Andrews in week 1. He was completely outshadowed by Isaiah Likely. But if you take a look at it, the Chiefs were shading coverage towards him throughout most of the game. And Andrews actually outsnapped Isaiah Likely and ran more routes than Isaiah Likely, right? Nice. So I would still temper expectations with Andrews because Isaiah Likely looked dynamic. And Andrews, I'm worried, is having a similar situation as Tony Pollard last year. They both had a similar injury, broken fibula, I believe it was. And per Tony Pollard's own words, it wasn't until Thanksgiving that he finally felt full go, fully healthy, truly to himself to be able to perform at that level.
See, my problem with those guys, I don't know which one to start right now. A lot of leagues, I have both of them. It's like, who's going to be my guy next week?
Yeah. So with that in mind, what I would do right now is I would be starting Isaiah Likely until probably about Thanksgiving, until hold on to Andrews, or in some leagues, buy low on Andrews. Fantasy manager might panic and, oh my God, Likely's taking over. Andrews is washed, but he might not be, take that chance on him. And I'm expecting by Thanksgiving, Andrews should be back into form. And again, he's still running more routes than Likely. He's still outsnapping Likely, and he's still Lamar's guy. So just keep that in mind.
And then, we're talking about, buying low, selling high, just that's a great transition piece to these dynasty buys and waiver wire pickups. I actually write the waiver article here over to Fancy Six Pack if anybody wants to check it out. But what I'm going to do for this category, I'm going to cite some of the every down linebackers. I write this article over at the RPO Network. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of my strategies, thoughts. I'm going to give you some of that. And Aiden's, of course, going to bring some of his article involvement in the IDP Center. But Aiden, do you have any thoughts as far as guys you're picking up this week? Do you have any thoughts, maybe just, your dynasty strategies, anything for this final category?
Dynasty strategies, I think Troy Reader obviously performed very well for the Rams as the Rams linebacker. For your redraft leagues, go get him. He's probably on the waiver wire unless when the Ernest Jones news broke, everyone grabbed him up. But he should still be there in most of your leagues. But for dynasty purposes, this might be your chance to, if Omar Speights, I believe is how it's pronounced, the undrafted rookie in Los Angeles, if he's on your waiver wire or if the guy that picked him up still has him on his roster, could be a guy to float a couple fab, float a late round draft pick, or maybe pick up as part of a package. Because long term, I do think that he will take over that role for the Rams. I don't expect it to be Reader for the entirety of the season.
What's crazy is Reader got 100% snaps, green dot, and he's only owned, to your point, in 5% of leagues right now.
Yep. It's great waiver wire pickup, especially for redraft leagues, in my opinion. Yeah. On the offense, well, also on the defensive side, Zack Baun had an amazing week one.
Who did he? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely amazing, stunning performance. But I would caution managers a little bit. Don't blow all your fab on him, because Devin White was out with an injury that week. We don't know how the Eagles linebacker core will look once Devin White is back. It might be Baun and Nakobe Dean taking over and performing for us this season. But I really do expect Devin White to take some snaps or take value from at least one of them. We don't know if it's Dean or Baun yet, so I caution you against dumping all your fab into that.
You know what's crazy, Aiden? I don't really talk much defensive backs. I always talk about putting them, throwing them. But I'm going to give you one here. This guy's owned in 7% of leagues. He's not even the first Green Bay Packer defensive back you think of. Probably not even the third. Javon Bullard, the rookie. He played every single snap and ended up with 12 tackles. I'm adding him in every dynasty I can. I think that's a strong indication of how the Packers want to use him. And credit to the Packers. They just draft really well. They have all these young, especially on defense, and especially at wide receiver.
Yep, definitely. Especially for rookies, I think is really indicative to see how they perform week one outside of those boom bust plays. Are they performing? Are they being solid? How many snaps are they getting? You know, like the hype's going crazy. Xavier Worthy right now, going absolutely bonkers, right? But if you look at his production, it was really kind of Mecole Hardman-esque. You know, jet sweep for a 20-yard rushing touchdown, completely busted coverage by the Ravens for his receiving touchdown. Yes, Xavier Worthy is great, and his value will hold throughout the season, but the hype's a little bit crazy right now, at least in my opinion. And one more. Go ahead.
I do a lot of punting on defensive backs, so this is like usually my category where I'm like, oh, I'll grab him, I'll stream him. Amani Hooker is another guy, logged every darn snap. He's only owned 3% of leagues, got 6 tackles, a forced fumble. You can do a lot of good in your just as a basic dynasty buy strategy. You can do a lot of good when a guy actually has a great week. Go ahead and trade him, get a draft pick, and just stream another one. That's one of my strategies I do.
Yep, definitely. And that's, in my opinion, the right way to do it, especially with defensive back that's so volatile season to season. Like, it's almost like running backs on steroids. But kind of to that point on defensive backs, one more, actually on the Saints, Alontae Taylor.
Thank you.
Yeah, he picked up 3 sacks in week one. You know, am I expecting 3 sacks a week? No, right? But that's the way that he was used. The scheme in which they're employing there in the Saints under Dennis Allen, he dialed up the blitzes from that slot corner spot early and often. It kind of reminds me of how Spags used Trent McDuffie on the Chiefs last year when McDuffie paced the cornerback position with sacks last year. So I'm definitely a deeper league stash, preferably like those big play leagues that value sacks and QB hits and tackles for losses as higher in value. Alontae Taylor is the name I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that actually. That was going to be one of my guys that throw back to you. I don't know if I could sustain it, but just the aggression and the power and the way Dennis Allen wants to employ him, I'd be interested in him as a waiver wire pickup as well. These are more dart throws. There were a couple linebackers didn't even hear of, so I'd probably play these guys in a 32-team league, or I'd probably play these guys in a 64-team league. There's a guy named Welch of the Broncos. He got 25% of snaps. Hey, I'll take a shot with it. And then there's another guy with the Giants because Mika McFadden didn't play. I don't even know if I pronounced his name right. I'm going to kill it. Darius Masu. He got 89% of snaps. So, again, are these throwaways? Probably. But, I mean, if you're playing that far deep and you need throws. See, I usually run a skeleton crew on IDP anyway, so I have time for stuff like this. I will tell you what I do. I'll give you 2 dynasty strategies I do during this time of year, Aiden. I don't shy away from drafting a cornerback or a rookie. Every year there's that Sauce Gardner type. And what happens? The NFL tests them. They're going to pepper these young guys like Bullard with targets, right? By week 4, week 5, he's going to have a stat sheet, right? What I end up doing is I trade to my unsuspecting friends. It sounds dirty, but it's not. Hey, I'll give you this guy. You give me a pick for next year, whatever. And that's when the league kind of has it on notice, and they don't throw to that guy anymore. They throw to the opposite guy. They throw to the DJ Reader, you know? So that's a strategy I do. Another strategy I like to employ is I like to kind of by week, probably by next week, we're going to kind of know what teams are checking out, what teams are packing it in. So I always like to throw a, hey, buddy, I'm really interested in your Elijah Moore. I'm really interested in that Chuba Hubbard. And he's probably thinking I'm crazy, right? Yeah, I'll give you a first-round pick in 2026, 2027 for your first rounder next year in Chuba Hubbard. What am I doing, essentially? I'm trying to move up for next year. So if I get a top 3 pick next year, I don't care about that Hubbard pick. Yeah, I did give away 2 first rounds the following couple of years, but knowing me, I'm going to make that up later on. So those are basic strategies. I do it a little different than most. But while teams are starting to play, by the next couple of weeks, we're going to see them start fading out. So those are just some of the strategies I employ. Do you got anything like that you do in your leagues?
Yeah, definitely. I almost approach it the opposite way sometimes for some of my dynasty leagues. I am one that really enjoys to rebuild. Like, I am a fantasy degenerate, and I fully recognize that. I love my rebuilds, you know. But for those rebuild teams, what I do is from the startup draft, I start accumulating future picks. And what happens is, even like, for example, last year in a startup, I picked up 2025 first and 2024 first. So now I got my 2024 influx of talent, great class and the such. And those 2025 picks, some of them have tossed it away for not quite as much value earlier on. But as that draft season gets closer and the hype builds up, those picks only increase in value, right? You can pick up a player right now and, for example, Devontae Adams right now, and his value has nowhere to go but down, right? Because he's getting older. Next year, you're going to be looking at it, it's like now he's 33, going 34. Football terms, he's ancient, right? But those rookie picks will always hold value and honestly only increase in value up till that draft class. So as I'm looking at things now, if I'm starting to compete, I can maybe even start to ship some of those 2025 seconds and thirds for some of these older veterans that are starting to perform a little bit. And now I can also look at the week 1 and say, okay, this veteran's performing, this veteran is not. So I know which one to pursue now. So that's just a strategy I like to employ at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and that's good too. Couple things I just wanted to put out, and thank you so much for doing this with me, Aiden. One of the articles I run every week on the Fantasy Six Pack is the usage report. So I cited a couple things. If you guys are interested in numbers, snaps, we're numbers junkies here. Feel free to go over to Fantasy Six Pack and log in. Yeah, we're behind a paywall, but we're actually running a promo code right now. It's F6P NFL 24. You get to save 15% off if you guys want to see my snap usage report. Similarly to that, I have another article running I mentioned earlier. It's the Every Down Linebacker article. If you guys are interested in that, I go in depth. I pull way more than we did on this podcast because we can talk an hour and a half. We've done it before, right, Aiden? I don't want to do that here. But if you guys are interested, check out the RPO network. We have 3 top 10 IDP rankers. I'm currently number 7 right now as of this week, but I plan on making it back. There's a couple point difference. So I plan on making it back. This is how I'm going to make it back with my Every Down Linebacker article, okay? We're running a promo code over there as well. If you guys put in IDP Hunter, it'll save you 10% off an actual season pass. So just something to think about if you guys are interested, if you guys want to take your games to the next level. Use that promo code. Like I said, again, it's IDP Hunter. You save off $10 for a full season at the RPO network. Either way, get them both while you're at it, right? And then while you're at it, check out Aiden on the IDP Center. Aiden, anything you're working on? Any closing thoughts?
Yep. We're working on a lot right now at the IDP Center. We're working on a trade calculator for any league that you want. But right now, our 2 main things that we're rolling out every week is we got our 3-minute reads. So that's just sit down. You got 3 minutes. You can look into one of our articles, for example, on RB1 versus wide receiver 1 hit rate and bust rate. Got some really interesting results that are quite contrary to like the 0 RB kind of concept that a lot of analysts have been pushing this year. And this is strictly based on statistics, not our bias at all. You could go ahead on our website and check out some of our general articles on that. And again, it's 3-minute reads. And the other one is, again, that custom league analysis, entirely custom to your league, personalized advice, and especially useful. It can be done on only offensive leagues, but it's really a great resource for your IDP leagues because it's the only one in the entire industry that does this. We are the only one that's offering the service because it's entirely customized and personalized to your roster. It accounts for those scoring differentials between like Fantasy Pro scoring and Sleeper 1, 2, 3 and Big 3. It really is all encompassing and can really help you in your fantasy league. So that's a service that we're really proud of and happy to offer. And again, it's the simplest one is $1.99 per team in the league, and we'll send out that full 10 to 20 page analysis to your email less than 72 hours after you firm up the details with us. So if you want to check that out, be really appreciated. And we love to keep lowering the barriers into IDP and really helping the IDP community grow.
Yeah, the IDP community, it's growing. I think I tweeted this the other day. In 2022, 9% of people played in IDP leagues. Last season, it's now up to 22%. So this is a growing community. You're a part of it. I'm hoping to be a part of it. I'm hoping for the audience, for those that aren't on YouTube that couldn't see my screen, please check out all of our work, IDP Center, RPO Football, Fantasy Six Pack. Those that are on iHeartRadio, welcome in. I hope you enjoyed this as well as Spotify. But please check out Aiden over at the IDP Center. I guess the whole purpose of these podcasts, again, thank you so much for coming on, Aiden. The purpose of these podcasts are to learn and grow. There's not a wrong way to do a dynasty. Like I said, you did yours one way, I'm doing mine another. There's no right or wrong answer, but we're hoping to learn from each other, what we learned here, what we find out. Let me listen to your take or my take, and hopefully these conversations can be taken back to your leagues, and maybe we can learn a thing or two when we're crafting those strategies and building our rosters. So again, you guys keep listening to this stuff. We're going to keep recording them. Aiden, last thing, tell the audience where they can find you.
Yep, you can find the IDP Center at theidpcenter.com. You can see our bevy of content, different tools out there. We also have out on our social medias on X, on Instagram, the IDP Center. Pretty straightforward, you know. We're pushing out content, push out notifications like CMC's last minute injury last night, as well as all of our articles and stuff out there. Would love to if you guys could drop us a follow.
And check his Discord out. I mean, I'm in there talking smack. You're in there talking about smack. What's his name? Mallory? I can't remember.
Mallory. Yeah.
Mallory. He's always in there. He's amazing. He's a great guy. He's always in there putting out some kind of new kind of crazy leagues. But check us out. Like I said, the IDP Center, it's nothing but growing. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Heck yeah. And like I said, we'll tune in next week. Thank you. Have a good night.